You are tired. I know. It is not a weariness of body. It is a weariness of soul. That type of exhaustion that sleeping does not resolve, that vacations do not cure, that not even an entire weekend lying on the sofa can alleviate. You wake up in the morning and already feel the weight of the day before even rising from bed. You do everything on automatic. You work, you smile, you answer messages, you settle the accounts, you care for others. But inside, you are collapsing. And no one perceives it. No one asks how you truly are. No one imagines that behind this face of everything is fine exists someone who no longer knows what to do. If you identified with this, stay here, because this video is not just any content. Today you will hear words that were prepared to touch exactly the place where it hurts, words of profound restoration. And I promise you, if you stay until the end, something inside you will change. Not tomorrow, now. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, called How to Know If God Will Save You in the Final Judgment. This material was made for those who are at the exact moment when heaven reveals what was hidden and occult movements come to light. Within it are truths that function as spiritual lenses, allowing you to see what previously passed unnoticed. You will understand why certain blockages existed, why certain people had so much power over your energy, and how to position yourself so that this never happens again. People who accessed it told me that for the first time, they felt the invisible chains break, that a clarity took hold of everything. The link is in the description of the video and pinned at the top of the comments. If something inside you confirms that this is for you, do not delay. Access it now. Access it. I saw the moment when you began to close yourself off, when you no longer wanted to fight and no longer knew what to give. But I pronounced a word over your life that will change everything. The places that were dormant within you are returning to life. I am placing in your heart a peace that goes beyond everything you are passing through. This is not merely consolation. This is the new beginning. Think with me. How many days have you already lived that seemed eternal? Days that blended into an endless cycle of merely surviving. You woke up with fear instead of hope. You were not certain if you would have the strength to endure the next 24 hours. But even so, you did what you had to do, not because you wanted to. You laughed when it was necessary to laugh. You smiled when it was expected to smile. You worked when you had to work. But inside, you were falling apart. You were losing parts of yourself that you did not know how to recover. You stopped dreaming because it hurt too much. Life always found a way to break your hope for something better. As soon as you dared to think that things could be different, something showed that perhaps they would not. And then you froze. You turned off that part of you that thought of a different future. You locked the part that dared to want more. You buried the part that believed happiness was possible. And you said to yourself that this was intelligent, that it was self-defense, that it was the mature way to deal with disappointment. But it was not intelligence, it was a slow death. You stopped having hope because it seemed that hope only led to more disappointment. You have had faith before. You have prayed before. You have believed in the past. And where did that lead you? Tired, confused, without knowing if anything truly mattered, you decided it was safer to expect nothing than to risk getting hurt again. You lowered your expectations to the point where you could no longer be disappointed for any reason, but it also became impossible to rise, impossible to fly. You gave up the fight because you were fed up with losing. Battle after battle, crisis after crisis. You kept getting up, trying again, moving forward. You thought you were progressing, but something always pulled you back. And all these defeats were wearing you down to the point where no strength remained to fight. But listen to what I'm going to tell you now. What you thought was the end was, in truth, a pause. It was not with indifference that I saw you collapse. I held you while I prepared you for what was to come. You thought you were crumbling. I saw the work in progress. You thought everything was going wrong. I saw the reconstruction. You thought you were going to lose. What I saw was a strategic repositioning. From my point of view, what seemed like defeat was, in truth, a plan. And what lies ahead needs a version of you that only I can create. Not the strong person who tries to handle everything alone, not the one who pretends to know everything. The version that knows how to lean on me, that depends on me with every breath. The version that has gone through enough to know that alone it is not possible, but that with me all things are possible. Now pay attention. Not only with your ears, listen with your spirit. With that part of you that recognizes my voice deep down. Listen from where you are, even if your mind is clouded and your emotions are heavy. These are not just beautiful words made to make you feel better for a few minutes. These words carry the power to transform everything they touch. Let my voice reach the parts of you that have been bleeding inside. The wounds that no one else sees, the pain that you learned to hide so well that not even the people who love you most know how much it hurts. You keep your pain to yourself because you do not believe anyone would understand. The shame you never spoke aloud because you fear what people will think. The fear that invades you when you are alone with your thoughts. You work too hard to be strong, to keep yourself standing, to move forward even while breaking inside. You went to work even when exhausted. You took care of things even while so tired you could barely stand. You helped other people even when you yourself needed help. No one saw how much it cost. No one knew how difficult it was for you to continue. No one knew you were hanging by a thread. But being strong is not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Putting on a mask when you are dying inside is not strength. That is survival. And surviving like that will destroy you little by little. True strength is letting me carry what was never meant for you to carry alone. It is having the courage to admit you cannot handle it. It is asking for help. It is surrendering. And no, I will not add anything more to your list of obligations. I'm not telling you to be more disciplined, more committed, or more persistent. I want you to stop striving so hard and let me return life to you. Let me carry the weight. Let me fight the battles. Let me take care of that which you have been trying to resolve alone. If this message is touching your heart now, do one thing. Write in the comments I receive. Not just with your fingers, with your entire soul. While typing, imagine your hand reaching out in the middle of the crowd to touch the edge of the cloak, exactly as that woman did. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, called How to Know If God Will Save You in the Final Judgment. This material was made for those who are at the exact moment when heaven reveals what was hidden and occult movements come to light. Within it are truths that function as spiritual lenses, allowing you to see what previously passed unnoticed. You will understand why certain blockages existed, why certain people had so much power over your energy, and how to position yourself so that this never happens again. People who accessed it told me that for the first time they felt the invisible chains break, that a clarity took hold of everything. The link is in the description of the video and pinned at the top of the comments. If something inside you confirms that this is for you, do not delay. Access it now. Access it. Because her story is very much like yours. 12 years bleeding. 12 years, pay attention to this, 12 years of her life passed without cure, without end, without hope that things would improve one day. 12 years waking up every day with the same problem, the same pain, the same shame. For 12 years she saw her life go downhill, while the lives of everyone around seemed to improve, progress, and see miracles happen. She spent all the money she had on doctors who could not help. She used every resource. She tried treatment after treatment, doctor after doctor, medicine after medicine. Nothing worked. In truth, while being treated, she not only did not improve, but grew worse. The people who were supposed to help took her money and gave nothing in return, only more pain and less hope. To make it worse, the religious system of the time said she was impure, that no one should touch her. She lived isolated. She could not participate in meetings. She could not even hug her own family. Imagine the size of that solitude, that shame, of not being able to recover, of feeling inferior, of having your own body betraying you day after day with no end in sight. Until something inside her changed everything. She heard of someone different, a master who welcomed the excluded, a healer who did the work, who touched the lepers, who ate with the sinners. The stories awakened in her something that had been dormant for a long time. Hope. She decided to act. Not because she was brave, because she was more desperate than afraid. She broke all religious and social rules because she thought that just being near would be enough. She did not need an elaborate prayer. She did not need a formal ritual. It was enough to touch the edge of the garment, only that. And she made her way through the crowd, trembling, weak, desperate, but with faith. Her fingers touched the edge of the cloak, and the power went out immediately. There was no religious test. There was no proof of faith. She came with everything she had, and it was enough. At that same hour she knew in her body that she was healed. 12 years of pain ended in an instant. But I did not let her get lost in the crowd. I felt her touch in the midst of so many people. I paused everything. I looked into her eyes and called her daughter. Not impure, not a pariah. Daughter. I restored not only the body, but the identity. I returned the years that had been stolen. I brought back to the community one who lived isolated. I used her story of loss to show how powerful I am. And I will do the same for you now. You have been bleeding inside in ways that no one else can see. You have been losing parts of yourself. Hope, joy, plans for the future. You pretend to be strong for everyone, but you have been getting weaker and weaker. You are surrounded by people, but you feel alone in your pain. You did everything you knew how to do. You read the books, you watched the lectures, you heard the advice. You put the ideas into practice. You prayed, you fasted, you gave your best. And even so, you are here wondering what you did wrong. Why nothing works for you while everything seems to work for others. But where you end is where I begin. When you stop trying to fix everything alone, I can do what I do best. It is all right to feel empty, because in the emptiness is where my strength enters. In weakness is where my power shines. If you are feeling this now, this tightness in the chest, this urge to cry, do not hold it back. This is the sign that something is being touched inside you. If this video is making sense in your life, leave a like. This click is not just a button, it is an act of faith. It is you declaring that you will not hide in shame. It is you saying that you align yourself with the favor that is upon your life. Now listen, you were not made to carry so much weight. Your mind was not created to resolve all problems alone. Your heart was not made to process trauma without help. You were designed to function with me, to draw from me your strength, your peace, your direction. When you try to function without this connection, you collapse, not because you are broken, but because you are not operating as you should. And everything changes when it functions this way. The burdens become lighter. Wisdom comes to make decisions. Fears diminish. You become much stronger than you imagine. Look, I know you have seen walls everywhere, that the idea of more days ahead may seem more terrifying than hopeful. Your mind may be saying it can take no more. But I am not talking about more days of what you have been living. I am talking about days when you will wake up with hope instead of fear. Days when my peace will guard your heart. Days when you will laugh again because the sadness has gone away. Days when you will love again after the wounds that made you afraid to open your heart. Days when you will rejoice for not having given up. Your best moments are yet to come. They did not stay behind. But I need you to make a decision. It does not need to be perfect. I am not asking that you understand everything. I only need you to say yes. Yes to hope. Yes to healing. Yes to change. Yes to the future I planned for you. Even if you do not feel it yet. Even if you do not yet see how it is possible, say yes. That is why I prepared the powerful digital book for you, called How to Know If God Will Save You in the Final Judgment. This material was made for those who are at the exact moment when heaven reveals what was hidden and occult movements come to light. Within it are truths that function as spiritual lenses, allowing you to see what previously passed unnoticed. You will understand why certain blockages existed, why certain people had so much power over your energy, and how to position yourself so that this never happens again. People who accessed it told me that for the first time they felt the invisible chains break, that a clarity took hold of everything. The link is in the description of the video and pinned at the top of the comments. If something inside you confirms that this is for you, do not delay. Access it now. Access it. I know why you closed yourself off. I understand why you raised walls around your heart, why you locked yourself emotionally, because it was too dangerous to feel, because many people disappointed you, because your trust was broken, because your hope was frustrated. Everything you did made sense. It was protection. But defense mode is not life. It keeps you alive, but it does not let you grow. It blocks the pain, but it also blocks the joy. It prevents them from hurting you, but it also prevents them from loving you. It is a prison that looks like security. You were not made to live locked away. You were made to be free, to flourish, to be fully happy. And that requires being open. It requires lowering your guard. It requires entrusting the sensitive zones you have been protecting. It requires opening the heart, which brings fear after having been broken. It requires hope. It requires faith. Even if believing has disappointed you in the past, I am not like the people who disappointed you. People err, they are inconsistent, they are limited by their own pain. They did not always want to hurt you. Sometimes they did it because they were hurt too. But I am not a person. I am completely faithful. My power is limitless. My love for you never changes. Nothing separates you from this love. Not difficulty, not anguish, not fear, not loss. Nothing in the present and nothing in the future. Now let me in, into the places that hurt, into the sadness of when you had faith and nothing happened, into the prayers that seemed not to be heard, into the fear that makes you wake up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, into the anger you hid because you thought it was not permitted to feel, into the doubts that make you question if any of this is real. You can come as you are, with all the doubts, fears, anger, questions, and mess. Come broken, come confused, come the way you are now. I meet you there. Write in the comments the word open. This is your act of letting go, of releasing control, of opening the hands that were clutching worry, the old plan, the pain. Not because those things are bad, but because they are killing you. Hand them to me, and trust that I will take care of the time better than you. Release the plan you made of how life should be, when you would marry, when you would have children, when you would reach certain goals, when you would have stability. Release it. I can take you where you need to be through 1,000 different paths. Most of them you do not even imagine exist. I know that letting go brings fear. It feels like falling, it feels like losing. But you will not fall. I hold you, I always held you. You thought you were keeping yourself firm by your own strength. But it was my strength flowing through you. You were never alone. I had you in my arms the whole time. You just did not know. Now stop striving and rest in my embrace. I have you. I always have. I will not let you go now. You went through a season of losses where it seemed everything was taken. Security in work, security in relationships, financial security, emotional security. One thing after another, and you felt as if you were being beaten. But it was not punishment. I was removing from the path everything that stood between you and what I wanted to give you. I was opening space for something better. What was taken was good, but it was not the best. It was comfortable, but it was not full. It seemed necessary, but it prevented you from advancing toward your true purpose. You think you lost time. You look back and see missed opportunities. You see others progressing while you stayed still. You feel you are late, but you are not late. You are exactly where I need you to be for what comes next. If you believe your turnaround is coming, subscribe to this channel now. It is not just pressing a button. It is saying you want to continue receiving this word. It is positioning yourself so as not to miss the message of the next season. Press the bell as well, because when I speak again, you will be tuned in and ready. Remember the story of Joseph. His own brothers betrayed him. They threw him into a pit. They sold him as a slave. Later, a false accusation threw him into prison for years. He helped someone who promised to remember him, but he was forgotten. More than 10 years of injustice, abandonment, and waiting. It would have been easy to become angry, to give up on dreams, to lose faith. But he chose to remain faithful, and everything changed in a single day. He went from the prison to the palace, from oblivion to the highest position in the country. It was not because things improved little by little. It was because the right time arrived. And when the right time arrives, the turnaround is quick. His time as a slave and prisoner was not a waste. It was preparation. Humility, character, and the trust he would need to manage what he was about to receive were being forged. If he had been promoted at 17, full of pride and immaturity, he would have destroyed everything. He was not ready, but after years of fire, he was. You are in a time of preparation. I know it has been hard, that it hurts, that it seems eternal, but I am not punishing you. I am building you, working on you in a way that is only possible through fire. Without the difficulties, you would not have learned to depend on me as you depend now. And it is almost finished. Do you feel it in the air? The things that seemed stuck are moving. What seemed closed begins to open. What seemed impossible begins to seem possible again. The answer to your prayers is closer than you imagine. But you need to change as well. You cannot advance with the same negative thoughts. You need to see yourself as I see you. Trust in what I say about you more than in the circumstances around you. Every time a thought says you are not good enough, capture that thought and exchange it for the truth. Every time the mind says nothing will change, replace it with the promise. The truth is, you are a masterpiece in construction. Every brushstroke has a reason. Every shadow makes the light shine more. I am breathing new life into you now. It is not a figure of speech. The parts that were dormant are waking up. The pieces that were broken are being reassembled, stronger, more beautiful, and more resilient than before. And I do this with such care that perhaps you will only perceive it when you look back and see how much you advanced. Do not despise small beginnings. The most profound changes happen in silence, where only you and I can see. One day you will wake up and realize you are no longer the same person. You will look back and see how much you grew, healed, and changed. I am proud of you. Now. Not when you improve. Now. I am happy that you did not give up. Proud of your strength, of how your heart continues seeking me even when you feel I am not near. You have a courage that most people do not have. To continue believing when everything screams to give up is an enormous strength. You are not a failure. You are still being worked on. I am the artist creating the masterpiece. Every color has a meaning. Every shadow highlights the light. When I finish, you will see beauty where you now see pain. You will see purpose where you now see shame. You will have a story to tell, a testimony to share, and a life to live. But there is still work ahead. Stay with me in the process. Do not run when it gets hot. Do not close yourself off when it hurts. Remain. Keep the door open. It is not about perfection. It is about continuing to come. Even when you do not feel like it, even when it is difficult, simply show up. It is all I ask. Show up and let me take care of the rest. I am with you. Now. At this exact moment. In the room where you are. Closer than your breath. I understand what you go through better than you yourself. I see every tear before it touches the ground. I am behind the scenes organizing every piece. You are not walking alone. You never were. Wonderful things are on the way. Breakthroughs that will make you cry with joy. Doors you thought were closed forever will open. Healing that will reach the root of your wounds. Needs being supplied, even the ones you never spoke aloud. The heart that has already ached too much will overflow with joy. Places that only knew chaos will experience peace. Love will fill the voids that ached from absence. I am not inventing this. I have your future in my hands, and I ask you, trust me. With your time, with your family, with the money, with the health, with the dreams, with the fears, with the questions, with everything. Trust me. If this video touched something deep in you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. By clicking the share button, imagine the blessing of a new life flowing from this message to that person. It is not just a video. It is a spiritual word for someone who is in a tomb. Choose 3 people, relatives, friends, and send it now. Write Amen in the comments to receive this blessing. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages of hope and restoration. Activate the bell, because when the next word comes, you will be ready. You are not alone. You are greatly loved, and what comes will be even better than everything you have already lived. Amen.